I'm about to play you two audio clips, and one of them is going to sound noticeably worse than the other. The first clip was a reference, just the original recording on its own. And for the second clip, I layered a delayed copy of that same recording on top of itself at close to the same level as the original. And layering those two copies of the same signal with a slight delay between them resulted in comb filtering, where some frequencies cancel out and other frequencies sum together, and everything starts to sound a bit hollow and smeared. But let's listen to what happens when we turn the delayed copy down in level in comparison to the original. This was the exact same copy of the signal with the exact same delay, but the level of the delayed copy was turned down significantly. It's still interfering with the original to some degree, but because the original is so much louder, the interference isn't as extreme, and it sounds a lot clearer. And something similar happens when you listen to speakers in a room. In an untreated room, your speakers play the music, and a fraction of a second later, delayed copies of that sound come back at your ears from the walls and the ceiling and the desk right in front of you at close to the full volume. They sum together with the direct sound from the speakers, and you get that hollow, comb-filtered version, full of dips and peaks across the frequency range. Acoustic treatment doesn't make those reflections disappear entirely, but it does absorb a lot of the energy that would have been reflected. So the reflected sound becomes much quieter in comparison to the direct sound. And the result is a sound at the listening position that more closely resembles what's actually coming out of the speakers. That means you can spend thousands of dollars on really nice studio monitors, and you'll never know what they really sound like if you're in an untreated room. Many people watching this probably already know that acoustic treatment is important. The problem is figuring out where to actually start. There are so many panel sizes and kit names and placement guides floating around the internet that a lot of people wait until they can afford to do it perfectly, and then they never start at all. And that's the trap I want to help you avoid today with this video. You'll find links to every panel and every room kit that I mentioned in the show notes below the video. And I use GIK Acoustics panels in my room, and you can get a discount by using our link and our discount code below. Buying through those links also supports Audio University at no extra cost to you, so we can keep making these free educational videos. But as always, the concepts I'll talk about in this video will apply no matter what panels you choose to buy or build. If you're just getting started, or if you're working on a tight budget and you can only treat a few spots in your whole room, here's where I think you should start. Along the walls and along the ceiling of your listening space, there are 3 points where the sound reflected back at your listening position causes the most severe problems, because they're the shortest indirect pathways, and therefore they're the closest in time and in level to the direct sound coming from your speakers. The easiest way to find the points on the wall is to use the mirror trick. Sit at your listening position, the way you normally would. Have a friend slide a mirror flat along the side wall. And anywhere you can see the reflection of your speaker in that mirror from the listening position, that's a place where a first reflection reflects off of the wall and comes back to you. So mark it on the wall and then do the same thing on the other side wall. The ceiling reflection abides by that same principle, but it's a bit more tricky to get a mirror up there. So you can think about it like this. The reflection point on the ceiling is the place that's roughly halfway between you and your speakers. These 3 spots send the strongest reflections back to you. So prioritizing those spots as the first place to place your acoustic absorption will give you the biggest return on your investment. It's the same principle as the demo at the beginning of the video. A reflection is just a delayed copy of the sound coming from your speakers. So by turning the level of the reflection down relative to the direct sound from the speaker, by using acoustic absorption, there's far less of that smearing, and you hear the recording much closer to the way it actually is. The placement of the panels is only half the battle, though. The other half is the panel itself, because not every panel absorbs sound equally. And one of the most important factors that determines how effectively a panel will absorb sound is its thickness. The music we play through our speakers contains many frequencies throughout the frequency spectrum all at once. Thick acoustic panels can absorb a wider range of those frequencies compared to thin panels, particularly lower frequencies. If you use only thin panels, they won't turn the whole reflection down evenly. Instead, thin panels act like an EQ, absorbing higher frequencies while allowing lower frequencies to reflect and interfere with the direct sound at your listening position. Let me explain this with a quick audio example. At the beginning of the video, when I turned that delayed copy down, I did it evenly across every frequency, but that's not quite what a panel actually does in the real world. This time, I'll take that same delayed copy and run it through a filter that reduces mostly higher frequencies. And like I said, thicker panels can absorb lower frequencies than thinner panels can. So to emulate that concept, I'll place the high cut of the filter at a lower frequency to mimic the thicker panel. And on a different channel, I'll place the cutoff of the filter to a higher frequency to mimic a thinner panel. You can hear that the thinner panel does help in the higher frequencies, but it still leaves behind the mud in the low mids, and that's probably the most problematic area you're dealing with in your listening system. There's a guideline for determining how low an absorption panel can reach based on its thickness. It's called the quarter wavelength principle. You should aim to use panels with a thickness that's at least a quarter of the wavelength of the lowest frequency you want to absorb. This is based on the fact that lower frequencies have longer wavelengths. That's why I'd point you toward at least a 4 or 5 inch panel like the 90 Hz flex range bass trap panel from GIK, rather than the 1 inch foam panels you might see online. For one, the material used in a real acoustic panel like this is much more effective than the cheap foam, but it's also thicker, and a thicker panel can give you absorption into the low mids where clarity is so important. Practically speaking, you can only treat down to a certain frequency using porous absorbers, which is why I recommend treating the lowest frequencies as a unique problem, which I'll get back to in just a moment. If you're on a tight budget, the cheapest way to get started and to see a real difference in how your room sounds is to hang 3 panels at least 4 inches thick, one at each of those reflection points. And if you're renting and you can't drill into the walls, GIK makes a version called the freestand bass trap panel as well, and I'll link to both options in the show notes below the video. And if you'd rather spend more time than money, and if you've got some basic woodworking skills, you can build panels yourself. I put together a free guide for exactly that called the Acoustic Panel Blueprint. It walks you through the dimensions, the materials, and how to build a panel step by step. And you can also find that link in the show notes. Treating this type of first reflection is, in my opinion, the highest impact thing you can do for a listening room. But it's not the only thing happening in your room that changes the way you hear the music from your system. There are 2 more main issues that come up, and these each deserve videos of their own. So I just want to briefly mention them here. The first is reverb. The first reflections from before reflected off of one surface before reaching the listening position, but sound reflects off of other surfaces in the room as well. And that lingering tail is what makes the room sound live or echoey. It can have a frequency balance component of its own, and it smears the details or at least just changes the way you hear the space and reverb that's already baked into the music you're listening to. Rather than treating specific points on the walls and ceiling, we tend to treat those longer reverb tail problems with just more panels across more of the room's surface. The more absorption you add, the faster that tail dies down, but it's not always even across all frequencies. And that brings me to my next point. The final issue I wanted to mention in this video is low end, and it's the one people really underestimate. And I think a lot of people misunderstand it. Placing some bass traps or absorption on the walls or the corners can help a little bit, but it doesn't completely solve the issue. Like I said, porous absorption panels can only reach down so far, and the deepest frequencies in a room can be stubborn. Sometimes it's best to use different tools entirely to treat those very lowest frequencies. And that's a whole video on its own, and luckily I've got a whole video about it already that I'll link you to at the end of this video. But I am getting a little bit too far into the weeds now. The point of this video is to help you identify the best place to start. If you want a kit that will cover the first reflections we discussed earlier without having to pick out the individual panels, check out the links below to GIK's room kits. That's exactly what they're designed to cover. Every kit covers your reflection points, and it adds bass traps to the corners to get you started treating the low end. But if you want to go beyond these basic kits and get better treatment of the reverb and the low frequencies in your specific room, GIK will actually do a free consultation and build a treatment plan for your exact problem frequencies. And while I do recommend GIK's products and I use them in my own studio, remember, even if you build your own panels or end up buying panels from another company, the planning and the principles are the same. The links to every panel and every kit I mentioned are in the show notes below, along with the GIK discount code. And if you'd rather build your own panels, you'll find the acoustic panel blueprint linked down there as well. In the next video that's on your screen, we'll dive deeper into why low-end treatment is such a unique problem, particularly in small rooms. I'll see you there.